Welcome back, and the drivers are wishing that FAI had put up $100,000 for the other race record. That is for the slowest run, FAI 1000, because we're heading in that direction. Another safety car has come out on the course. Stephen Richards leads the race from Glenn Seaton. Richards yet to make that brake pad change. Seaton effectively the leader of the race. This is why we have the safety car out yet again.
That's the Rod Salmon Damien White car, the One World entry, spinning at the top there. And there's also another car off to the side. I think there may be. I think it's a car reverses out of danger. That's the colour scan car there. That's the other one.
Brett Peters, Danny Osborne, and that brand new AU Falcon was only completed last week. Didn't get a lot of race miles in before the race, but they were having a great time in qualifying. Looking forward to a strong run, but it was not to be. Safety car out once again.
In a little bit of a tricky position there. Too dangerous a position to leave it. Well, don't go all quiet on us, Jason Bargwanna. What do you think? It's incredible.
Well, it doesn't look like there's too much damage to that, so maybe he's just pulled off with a problem, but if he'd have pulled off to the inside, you probably could have kept racing without a problem. Unfortunately, he's gone to the outside.
Now, the number 25 Castrol AU XR8 has performed a pad change. This is the Longhurst macro entry under safety car period, so good thinking there.
So the crash truck makes its way around to pick up those two cars. It's a long process, a 6.2 kilometre circuit. By the time they get the trucks out there, load them up, get them back, there's always inevitably a number of laps behind the safety car, which really slows things down a lot. Be clear and simple onboard camera looking back at John Bowe and the Cat Ford. He slows it down again. Got involved in that tangle with Jeff Full down at the Chase. 45-year-old John Bowe still resides in Devonport, Tasmania. Spent most of his life living in our southernmost state. Made his Bathurst debut back in 1985. 14 starts, 6 finishes and 2 wins, both with Dick Johnson Racing.
Team with Jimmy Richards for the FAI 1000 in 99. First time on the mountain in cat colours, and it's been quite an effort by this team. Pretty interesting year. They've changed owners. John Briggs now owns this team, and they have moved from WA to Brisbane, and there's plenty going on. Greg Rust?
Well, some very happy faces down at Wins Racing, and one of them is Greg Murphy. Murph, good to see you out in front of the field.
Yeah, well, we knew we'd have a pretty good car today, and Steve did a sensational job in the first stint, and we came in early, and obviously there's been a plentiful supply of pace cars to get your pit stops in, and then my stint went pretty well. It was sort of getting... The car was pretty good, getting held up a little bit there sometimes and on and off, but the pace cars obviously slowed things down a lot. But what a race. I mean, yesterday in the GTP race, we thought all the pace cars they had there that this was going to have a few, but not that many.
Has that given you an advantage? You think you won the class yesterday? There was lots of safety cars out there then. Now, of course, you're a bit more wiser and a bit more tentative, perhaps.
I don't think so, Rusty. But no, everything's going well. It's a shame about the amount of pace cars because, we're not doing a lot of racing out there. But as you can see, the field is very bunched up. So depending on how long this will last, she's going to be a damn good end to the race.
It's a long afternoon, mate. Hope to see you there at the end of it.
Yeah, so do I. Thanks a lot.
It's been a good build-up to this race for the Wins pair. Steve Richards, who is, of course, the defending champion here, or half of the defending champion pair, he and Jason Bright, and also Greg Murphy. And they haven't had a whole heap of limelight on them, so it's been a fairly low-key build-up, and now they lead the FAI 1000 from Seaton and Crompton. Noski and Kelly, the Holden Young Lions. The first of the HRT cars in Lowndes and McConnell, Scaped and Morris, Brightbeard, Radisich Ellery, and Perkins and Ingle.
They're all bumper to bumper under this safety car condition. Bowe and Richards, Brabham and Bates, Longhurst and Macro, 2 Johnsons. Lots of Fords there, Paul and Scott, right down to Smurden and Cox.
Parsons and Parsons, they've been doing some big work today from 54th on the grid. They were at one stage leading, then they stopped for their pad change. And we've got the top 21 on the lead lap.
Incredible situation, isn't it? These are all the cars that are 1, 2 and 3 laps down. Gardner and Brabham started strongly, but they've had all sorts of dramas. 3 laps down.
Start getting into some of the cars that are out of contention here from Williams and Fleming onwards. McDougall and Badiki, well, they should still be running, but Faulkner and Wills definitely out. Nash and Wanless definitely out. And this whole page here, all casualties of the FAI 1000 on Mount Panorama. And there you go, Dillman and Cotter were the first to go. Back real soon with more on your home of motorsport, Network 10.
Welcome back, FAI 1000 for 1999, and they're trying to keep those tyres warm as the safety car leads them yet again. This might fill you in too on the car that was turned around in the chase in a little bit of a coming together with John Bowe. Rodney Forbes is back behind the wheel after that car made it back to the pits, and they're back out in 23rd position. So the privateer that was for a little while anyway leading the FAI 1000 is still in the hunt, but the leading privateer now is the man who's been leading privateer all season. In 13th overall, Cameron McLean, partnered by, of course, the great John Cleland, and Charlie Cox is at the moment behind the wheel of the second place privateer, just a couple of positions behind them in the field.
So a good combination, well, it's a good combination, and they are going strongly as well, is Jeff Brabham and Neil Bates, 3 times Australian Rally champion in the second of the Ford Tickford racing cars, qualified 20th, now running 10th, right behind John Bowe and in front of Dick Johnson. Barry?
Yeah, I'm with Tony Longhurst. How's it going, Tony?
Yeah, pretty good, Barry. Just quite amazing, that last safety car. We're able to put our brake pads in, lap 73. We can now get Adam past lap 100, and so we've only got 2 more stops to go for the race, so we're looking in good shape.
Where are you laying at the moment?
I don't know, with all this carnage out there.
I was going to say, I don't either.
I thought you'd know, Tony. Well, we're on the lead lap. We're in the pile of cars there, so we're probably 10th, 20th position. But, Cashel Ford's running great. It's just great. We're in a good spot.
I tell you what, with all these safety cars out, at least everybody's on the same lap. It's going to be hell for leather the last sort of 15 laps. It's going to be a right old sprint.
Well, look, we're not to lap 80 yet. We're not to the hard part. And they're just going crazy. Like early on there, I got Tanner behind me and Mazira in front of me. I thought, this is too hard. Like, there's going to be an accident here. So I just let them go. And then a couple of laps later, bang. And what happens? Everyone builds up. You get behind the safety car and everyone's going, oh, I'm going to go.
Can't wait.
And bang, they're back into sprint mode. So we're getting these series of little sprints. And the guys are driving too much on the limit.
Plus the fact the tyres cool down really a lot, don't they? And then you've got like half a lap where you're on sort of...
Yeah, probably. You come up Mountain Straight, turn 1, it understeers a little bit, but it can bite you going into turn 2 where it caught out the last Wins car. But everyone's going too hard. As soon as the flag's dropped, or as soon as the safety car pulls off, it's like sprint round, and they're not thinking far enough ahead. And we've still got a long way to go. We've got 3 or 4 hours of motorsport. It's a long race.
Thanks a lot, Tony.
Thank you.
Jason, an interesting explanation there from Tony about with the pace car situation, and once the safety car pulls off, away they go again. Is that what you experienced out there?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly agree with Tony. You get in a situation where if you've got a stint going, you can keep your rhythm going, but obviously when it's stop and starting, you lose it.
Well, speaking of starting, we are back under green. We're back under race conditions. Stephen Richards leads the FAI 1000. Let's get going again, and let's get some racing.
Well, that lead car, that Gibson Motorsport Wins Kmart machine, the only car in that leading bunch that's yet to make its brake pad change. They'll have their fingers crossed. Another safety car period will allow them to effect that without losing too much track time. By the number of safety car periods we've had today, I think it's a dead set certainty. We're going to have just as many this afternoon. It's a long day when you get that many safety car periods. As Tony Longhurst was saying, everyone's all wound up after sitting in that queue, cruising around for a few laps. Everyone's just got to cool it, try and get the cars nicely in the groove before they get stuck into it again.
Minor 10 lap counter, 77 of 161. Craig Lowndes has just performed a move on Mark Noski. Then we go back. Behind those guys, Scaife is sitting in there. So too is Jason Bright in the Pertec Ford. They are looking very strong. So too is Paul Radisich. Russell Ingall is in 8th. John Bowe, then Jeff Brabham and Dick Johnson bringing it up in 11th position. There's not much margin between these cars. This is a great close race. Brilliant stuff. We just need some good race laps under our belt. No more incidents, please.
I'll give you a tip. I reckon there'll be a few more yet to come.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, a little later on, it'd be great. This is such an intriguing battle because we have got so many big names in the front of this pack. And let's give credit to Mark Poole in the John Deere VT Commodore. Has been around that 13-14 mark all day, and he is now running in 12th behind Dick Johnson and ahead of the lead privateer Cameron McLean.
Paul Radisich is starting to apply the pressure to the Pertec Falcon. Looking out the back on speed stick onboard camera. Jason Bright just has a quick look up in the mirrors as this big, powerful shell Ford ranges up alongside.
Makes it
Ducks
easy,
out of the
doesn't it?
draft. Yeah, absolutely. Short back and sides in a straight line. Shell Fords have been doing it all day.
Skate puts a move on Mark Noski.
Yep.
And Radicic will be lining up on Noski to do the same again.
So down under the Dunlop Bridge toward Murray's Corner. Radicic has a look up the inside of Noski as well. Oh, he's got squeezed right up on the curb. Wow. Lucky to avoid any panel damage there. Jason Bright has taken advantage. He's going to try and use his better speed out of that corner to move up alongside the Shell Ford, but not so. And Radicic now makes his move at the next turn.
It did for the guard there. They might have actually touched then. The mirror's been pushed back out. You can see Paul trying to get his mirror out, so obviously they did touch.
Yeah.
Bright will swallow up Mark Noski coming up this hill, and there's another one lining up there as well. It's Larry Perkins, rather Russell Ingall in the car. He's looking at Mark Noski now, so he's copying it from everywhere. Noski doesn't want to relinquish his position to Jason Bright and doesn't. As they head through speed stick turn, we ride with Russell Ingall. Carlton United, in-car camera through the Ford Tickford cutting, where we've seen quite a few incidents today at the cutting, and also as Forest Elbow. And now we're starting to get a good race rhythm again.
Just a magnificent sight, isn't it? Such a quality top 10. Look at the depth of quality there. Richard, Seaton, Lowndes, Scaife, Noski, Radicic, Bright, Ingall, Johnson and Bow. That's just the top 10. So
Looks like the opening lap of the race, I'd assume.
well, he feels that way too. They've been behind the safety car for so long. Plenty of time to cool down. It has been a series of sprint races today, more than any other year I can remember.
Well, at almost 2 o'clock Eastern time, that is, it's a little bit weird to be saying we're almost halfway.
Yeah, it's been a long, hard haul.
Look at Dick Johnson on Russell Ingall. The power of the number 17 Shell Helix Ford. These things are awesome in a straight line. Russell Ingall will make it difficult for Dick, though, to get through on the challenge chase. Ingall holds position.
Where Dick was hung out to dry there, I mean, there's a lot of rubber build up on the outside there, so the last thing you want to be doing is turning at 280 k's an hour. That little balls of rubber under the tyres.
The car at the back of this pack is the car that I was mentioning just a few moments ago. It's the Mark Poole Tony Scott entry. It's an ex-Craig Lowndes car, sponsored by John Deere Grounds Care, and these guys are the first to admit that they've got a relatively inexperienced crew in terms of comparing them to, say, the main level 1 teams, and they are doing a brilliant job back in there, tucked in behind the FTR car of Jeff Brabham. Bill?
Well, if you think it's a long race today, spare a thought for Mark Larkham, of course, the man who was sitting on pole as they took off this morning on this 55-car grid. But I do have something that might make Larko come away from the mountain with a smile. FAI has announced a couple of things during the race today, one of which is they will jackpot the $100,000 that goes to the team that pulls in the fastest race time, because obviously it won't happen today. They are also going to give the winner of this race an extra $25,000 on top of the $100,000 prize money. And why we've dragged Larko all the way up pit lane for this is that they're also going to give $25,000 to the pole sitter, and that's retrospective. Larko, how does that make you feel?
Well, hang on, I just put a smile on my face. I had absolutely no idea. No, that's great. Well, thank you, FAI. I mean, that's they certainly didn't have to do that. That's much appreciated. It hasn't been our day-to-day, Billy, and I guess we'll sit around the bar tonight and talk about yesterday. You know, it's you can't slash your wrist every time you don't win this race. We'll be back for more next year.
People might be thinking, mate, I mean, I know you love your motorsport, of course, and when you're not in the race, I mean, how much do you sort of become a spectator at this point? I mean, you have so much team business to look after and sponsors, etc., but do you take much of an interest in the outcome and the tactics that are going on out there?
Well, to be honest, Brad and I have just locked ourselves in the front of the trailer and sat around feeling sorry for ourselves for about the last hour. No, we've actually, the guys have dug in and they've actually repaired the car. They've fixed the clutch, and we're going to go back out and just keep circulating for the fans and our sponsors who have been great supporters. So I'm looking forward to going and have a razz around.
Oh, Mitre 10 will be very pleased to hear that, and the rest of your sponsors. That's great news. At least we'll get to see you running around, and you'll have a smile on your face while you're doing it.
Well, that's just made the day a little happier. Thank you, Billy. Thank you, FAI. That's terrific.
Good on you, mate, and I know you'll come back and win one sooner or later.
Yeah, I think we'll keep coming back, no question. It's getting better for us every year.
Well done, Mark Larkin.
That put a smile on his face, didn't it?
I tell you what, he might have to be careful, though. I've seen those Mitre 10 boys in action. They might drink that $25,000 worth tonight.
Put it on the bar, Largo.
Dick Johnson runs a little wide out of Murray's corner on pit straight. Has been menacing Russell Ingall for a number of laps now. And look who is right behind him. His old teammate for 11 years, John Bowe, in the Caterpillar Ford. This is a tough race. And whoever wins this today, well, of course, it's the same every year. They are really going to deserve it today. We have got a star-studded lineup in the top 10, that's for sure. There's your Ford race score. Stevie Richards still leads the way from Glenn Seaton, Craig Lowndes and Paul Radisich. They're your top 4. Scaife, Noske, Bright and Ingall. Right back to 8. That'll keep revolving at the bottom of your screen for you to keep you up to date. Who is in what position? Top privateer is still Cameron McLean and the Scotsman John Cleland. Race leader Stephen Richards. Must make special mention that it would be a delight to see him win today, because he and his wife Angela are expecting their first child early next year. So we wish Ange all the best, and Stephen. It was only this time last year that they were getting married. Now another major milestone in their life. Well, it's not surprising to see the Wins Commodore, Wins Kmart machine doing so well. Now Panorama have had good form in season 99. The Gibson Motorsport outfit, second outright in the Adelaide 500. Greg Murphy. They missed out on what looked like a certain third place in the Queensland 500, but a brake piston popped out one lap from home. But apart from that, they've looked very, very strong in the Enduros. Make sure you stay in touch when you're online, when you're on the web, www.10.com.au. That is the Network 10 website. Lap 80 of 161. And look at Paul Radisich, number 18 Shell Helix Ford, the 2 times World Touring Car Cup champion. And he is giving Craig Lowndes a nice old work over the outside run into Murray's corner. That's the long way around. Lowndes will hold line. He's a man on a mission, isn't he? Radisich fell back in the order after they did their compulsory pad change. 2 cars came in together, put them back in the queue. And they've been sitting back there because of all the safety car periods we've had. Now we're back to full racing conditions. He is charging, Greg Rust.
Well, I'm with Craig's teammate, Cameron McConville, and it seems as though Radisich is giving poor old Craig a bit of a hurry-up.
Yeah, car 18's very fast, Greg, in a straight line, so it's really hard to keep the Fords behind. They you can get a really good run out of the corner onto Conrod Straight, but they've just got so much more speed. But the car's going really well, but he may have to let Radisich through and just sort of sit in behind him.
You and the dude and all the Holden racing team here are paying very close attention to this race. Are you still maintaining that approach you took before the race, that you're going to look after the championship and Scaife can look after the race win if possible?
Yeah, that's still the plan. Look, I mean, we're running. I think we've got to stay in the top 4, though. It's safer there. There's been so many safety cars already. You need to stay out of the trouble if you can. But no, everything's going according to plan so far.
All your pit stops are going fine. I think about the only pit stop we haven't seen is the safety car so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it'll need a fuel stop pretty soon. It's been out there. I mean, everyone's driving very, very hard, and maybe some trying a little too hard.
Good on you, champion. I've got money riding on you, so don't let me down, will you?
Good idea. Thanks, Greg.
Maintaining a hot pace at the front. Stephen Richards in the Wins Kmart Commodore. 2:13.60 the last lap. 1 second lead over Glenn Seaton. A bit further back on the Mitre 10 Privateers scoreboard. And you'd expect Cameron McLean and John Cleland leading that class. 12th outright, ahead of Reed and Ashby in 15th outright. Harris Shaw 3rd in the Privateers battle, 18th outright. Keep track of all those Privateer scores throughout the day, thanks to Mitre 10.
That's a good effort from Craig Harris and Tim Shaw. A couple of, well, actually, Craig Harris isn't a rookie here in a V8, but certainly Tim Shaw is. And that is the race-winning car from last year. Here is Radisich again, the rear shot from Craig Lowndes. Mobile Holden Racing Team Commodore. Holden on-car camera. We saw just earlier when we were talking with Cameron McConville, Radisich climbing the mountain and flashing his lights.
That's not going to have any effect on Craig, I don't think. They're all in this race to win. Stephen Richards in front, Glenn Seaton second, Craig Lowndes. This is the battle for 3rd position between Lowndes and Radisich. Mark Scaife a further 2.1 seconds behind them on the road.
Well, Jason Bargwanna back under some good race miles now.
Yeah, I was just looking at that shot before it. It's very similar to what you see in the mirror. You just see this big the sign writing on the car behind, and all of a sudden you can start reading it and you think, oh no, he's going to go past me again.
Well, listen, you've stayed with us for quite a while. Thank you very much for coming up and spending some time with us and talking to the folks at home. And again, we're sorry to see the way in which you and Garth Tander exited this race, and good luck for the year 2000.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, it's obviously very disappointing for us. We're looking at a good position, but disappointing for all our fans, all the Valvoline and Cummins fans out there that wished us luck. I've got a few friends in Sydney having parties and friends in Melbourne having parties, so, oh well, that's the way it goes. We'll be back and we'll win it one day.
Party's over.
Yeah, thanks. You reckon? I'm going to the pub tonight.
I'm sure you will. Thanks, Jason.
Elroy Jetson stepping out of the commentary box.
Barney Rumble.
Oh, you've got about 15 nicknames, hasn't it?
Thanks, mate. Jason Bargwanna, very unlucky today, but both he and Garth Tander as a driving combination remain one of the strongest in the race. And they'll be back in full force next year, I have no doubt. Look at they get pushing their way through the traffic. FTR Falcon driven by Glenn Seaton, second position. Craig Lowndes closing in on the back, and he's copping plenty of heat from Paul Radisich. The battle for second position is very tight.
Couldn't ask for this to be any closer, could you? Craig Lowndes, look at this. Here comes Paul Radisich. The Rat is on the move. Pulls out of the draft and has overtaken Craig Lowndes in a straight line down Conrod. And Glenn Seaton is the next one on his list. Lowndes then returns the favour. He pulls out of the draft, but Radisich has really pulled off that move nicely. Horsepower, raw horsepower in a straight line as we go through Challenge Chase. Seaton sitting in second position. Stevie Richards is still your race leader.
Joining us in commentary is British Touring Car Champion John Cleland, who's sharing the driving with Cameron McLean today. Down the inside goes Radisich, so he takes Seaton as well. Radisich, we said he was on a move. He's really flying up to second position.
Seaton is being swamped by the two Mobil 1 cars. Lowndes has got through, and Skate will be lining up there as well. He performs the inside move, and Noski's lining up also. So three in a row. Bang, 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 straight past Seaton, and so too does Jason Bright in the Pertec Ford. Well, does Seaton have a problem, or he's just letting him go by? I doubt that.
Well, he just got swamped there, didn't he? 4 or 5 cars sweeping through. He's staying with at the back. Maybe he made the decision like Tony Longhurst earlier. He just wanted to say, look, you guys go. I don't want to get involved in any of this. He's just sitting back there in the order. He looks fairly comfortable.
They climb the hill. Glenn Seaton lost a number of positions. Radisich is the main mover. He is now right up there, right behind Stephen Richards as we check the race score. Lap 83 of 161, the FAI 1000. Stevie Richards still leads the way from Radisich, powering on. Lowndes, then that's changed as of the last lap. Scape is up ahead of Seaton, so too is Noski. Bright, Perkins. We look back. Dick and Stephen Johnson running nice and strong in 9th, and Bow and Jimmy Richards rounding out the top 10. Stay with us on your home of motorsport. More right after this.
It's War on the Mountain, FAI 1099. Stephen Richards leads the race. Paul Radisich on a charge. He put in a 2:12 to sweep through the placings. He's now back to a 2:15, so he's settled it down in second place ahead of Craig Lowndes, Mark Scaife, Mark Noski, Jason Bright. Glenn Seaton going backwards with 2 consecutive 2:16s, and this even slower from the Cat Racing team. John Bow limping back to the pits, and we hope we'll be able to continue the race, but certainly out of contention.
Well, we saw it in trouble on top of the mountain just as we went for the commercial break. There was smoke billowing from the back of the car. You would suspect they've lost an engine. He's just rolling it down to pit lane. It's a little uphill rise into pit lane, so he'll be lucky to get there. Might need some assistance to get him back to his actual pit bay. But after looking so strong and hovering around in that top 10 all morning, the Cat team has come to grief.
That's hard going, isn't it?
Yeah.
Very disappointing for the Caterpillar team. As we said before the commercial break, joining us in commentary is 2 times British Touring Car Champ John Cleland, who is teaming this year with Cameron McLean. They are currently running in 11th outright as top privateers. John, welcome, and congratulations so far.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's been a hard race so far. When I was in the car there, I just couldn't believe so many pace cars. I mean, it's actually a little bit of a joke, really. They should be made to qualify these cars within a certain percentage of the pole position time, because half of these things have been brought out of shed in the backwoods and just brought here to race. It shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, it's we had that. We heard that earlier in the week. A lot of the front-running guys were talking about the traffic and some of the drivers at the back of the pack. This is at the opposite end of the pack. Race leader Stephen Richards is being hauled in just unbelievably fast by Paul Radicic.
Isn't he getting hauled in? Look at the lap times. He just dropped into the 12s. Radicic did a 12.9 before. He's just done a 13.8. Richards a 15.5. So the Shell Ford absolutely hammering. Look, absolutely catching him hand over fist. He'll be right on him in a few laps at this rate.
Now, Radicic is a former competitor of yours in the British Touring Car Championship. John, you had an interesting thought in the commercial break.
Yeah, well, when Paul was in Britain, he was renowned for being a little bit hard on gearboxes sometimes, and it would be interesting to see some in-car stuff with him now, see if he was being real gentle on this gearbox. But you can't argue, he's flying. He's really got his head down in this race.
He's been so determined to win in this category, and we haven't seen him win yet in a championship race. We saw him win at the Honda Indy 300 a little while ago on the Gold Coast. Of course, this doubling is the FAI 1000 and the final round of this year's Shell Championship Series. And Radicic has had to display, runs a little wide, has had to display a great deal of patience this year as they've gone through the development process of this AU XR8. And now it's all starting to pay off.
You believe how hot the competition is now, John, compared to your last visit to Mount Panorama?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite amazing how close the top 20 cars are. I mean, to be covered by a second, and for these cars to be running just quite so nose to tail, and really hard pace too. It's very, very good. Everyone is trying real hard, and we're only 86 laps of 161. There's a long way to go in this race.
Yep. Let's talk about your co-driver, Cameron McLean, top privateer. He's knocked everybody's socks off this year in the Greenfield Mowers car. Talk about it from an insider's point of view.
He's a very talented driver. That's the only way I came across here to drive this car, because I knew that it was capable of doing a good job. The team, Greenfield Mower team this weekend, have done a great job of keeping it all together. And Cameron and I, we got a plan that we're just going to quietly just work away and see what happens. Cameron, I think, is now he's up to 11th place and doing some reasonably consistent times. We're quite happy with that.
Well, he's second fastest to Radicic.
Yeah, that's good.
2:14s. Everybody else is in the 15s and 16s. Radicic is in the 13s.
Oh, 2:13.6 for Richards. He's cranked up the pace now at 2:13.37 in the battle for the lead. 1.2 seconds the gap between the battle for the lead. First and second position on the track. Here it is. Radicic was reeling him in, but Steve Richards just responded big time. Let's go to Barry Sheen.
Yeah, I've just been talking to John Bell's crew, and they said that John radioed in and said he could smell transmission oil, gearbox oil, and then the thing started to buck up. And don't forget, he changed. This is his old engine that they weren't going to race on anyway, and it's just sort of blown up, basically speaking.
Yeah, they're always in engine trouble all week, the Caterpillar Ford team. But look, early days yet. We've got to pat them on the back for a job well done. They've only set that team up this year. It takes 2 or 3 years to mould yourself into a genuine race-winning operation. And I'm sure the Caterpillar Ford team will be back at Bathurst with that race-winning package before too long. But this is the battle for the lead of the FAI 1000 for 1999. They've been pushing each other very, very hard. Stephen Richards in the wins, Kmart Commodore, and Paul Radicic coming back through the field like a bullet in the Shell Helix Ford.
I remember talking to Stephen Richards and Greg Murphy at the beginning of the year, and they said that it would be a hard year developing the new VT Commodore. Keep in mind that this team had to build 2 new cars. They changed from Yokohama tyres to the Bridgestone control tyres, and 2 brand new drivers in the team, replacing Darren Hossack and Darren Pate. So they've gone through a massive transformation, and they've got it all right at the right time.
Can you believe how much punch these Shell Fords have got in a straight line, John?
Yeah, they're very quick. I mean, having said that, our car wasn't no slouch either. It was a quick car and down the chute earlier on in the week there. So, yeah, it's the first time I've driven a 40, and it's a remarkably quick car down the straight line.
I think it's a huge compliment to your in-house engine builder, because this is the first time the Greenfield Mowers team has run an in-house engine as opposed to a Dick Johnson engine.
That's exactly right. They had a panic at the last minute to produce a very good engine, and they've done just that. The car seems to run well, and it runs very quickly too. So it is a great credit to them in such a short space of time.
Look at this. The battle for the lead continues.
I was going to say, you can put the split away. It's getting so close now. Paul Radicic just continuing to tighten the thumb screws on Stephen Richards as they head up the mountain. Once again, a classic Holt versus Ford battle. Radicic, so strong in the opening laps, wants to lead this again. Greg Rust is in the Pertec team.
Well,
driver change going on. Jason Bright is out of this car, and of course Craig Baird getting in. But the big news for this team is this stop is going to take a while. They have some sort of electrical gremlin that's crept into the car. They're going to change a battery in it, which they're doing at the moment. They think it might in fact be alternator trouble, and they first noticed the problem when the brake lights went on. They've got no brake lights on this car at the moment, so they'll change all 4 tyres. The driver change has already been completed, and the boys are looking inside the car now to try and find exactly what this electrical problem is. 34 seconds gone so far, but not the day for the defending champion team.
Paul Radicic is on it. Look at this. Another 12.9. He's dipped into the 12s. Stephen Richards, a 13.7. That previous lap, that's put the Shell Ford right on the rear bumper of the Wins Kmart machine.
And should we say for our TV3 viewers in New Zealand, 2 Kiwis leading this field.
Do we have to say that?
John, we've seen Paul Radicic come to Australia this year and really plant his feet. He's here for the next few years at least, really enjoying himself. What about yourself? What are you going to be up to in the coming years?
Well, I've agreed to come out of British Touring Car short term and see what's what, but this championship, I have to say, is taking Paul a little time this year to get the hang of it. But it does look like a fantastically healthy championship, the amount of cars you have and how close they are and the racing. And Paul's really dialed into things. He's right on the case here.
Right up behind the Wins Commodore. Is he going to duck out of the draft this time as they come down toward the chase? This is nail-biting stuff. 290 kilometres an hour as they sweep through here. Braking hard for the challenge chase. And Stephen Richards really fighting tooth and nail now for the lead of the FAI 1000. He's responded to the challenge from the Shell Ford, but it's all over him as they come down and brake hard for pit straight. Radicic just ducks around, filling up the mirrors of the Wins Kmart machine. Headlights ablaze, maximum intimidation.
It was interesting to see Stephen Richards, John, as he came out of Forest Elbow, move to the middle of the road immediately down Conrod Straight.
There was no way he was going to let Paul come past. Absolutely no way. He's going to have to work real hard for this position.
Probably be the same again up Mountain Straight. The Wins VT Commodore leading the Shell Helix AU Falcon. Look at Radicic now as he's in the draft. He pulls out of the draft now, heading up towards Speed Stick turn. He's got the inside run, and the Rat, Paul Radicic, moves through on the inside and takes back the lead of the FAI 1000.
He is giving it heaps. He is driving this car like he hates it, 110%. Radicic has the hammer down, takes the lead back of the FAI 1000, lap 88, and a long way to go.
How have you found track conditions in general, John, throughout the day or for the period of time you spent out there?
Yeah, it's okay. It's actually starting to break up a bit in a couple of points around the track, and obviously with the amount of cars and the heat today, it might even get worse as the time goes on. But yeah, basically it stands up to some abuse with these 600 brake horsepower animals as they go around about here.
They are animals, and you can hear the Ford fans screaming at the top of the mountain. They're cheering on their man, the Rat.
I'd just like to point out that we're now 10th. Cameron McLean is now 10th in this race.
Okay. We'll just point that out for John Cleland. He's now 10th in the race.
Well, something else very relevant to point out, that Greg Crick and Paul Wheel are running 11. That's a very good effort in the K&J radiators, and we can see the Pertec Ford back in the pits.
Yeah, problems here for Bright and Craig Baird in the Pertec machine. Mechanics working feverishly inside trying to fix some problem. So would suspect an electrical problem if they're working that side of the car. Stephen Richards now drops back into second place. Craig Lowndes still in third in his potential championship winning performance. He has to finish fourth or better to claim the Shell Championship Series at the FAI 1000 this weekend, and he's doing good. Oh, there's one over the curbs. He's coming out of the chase. Fortunately, gets it back on the black stuff.
That's a pretty forced entry, I think. Coming up, this will be lap 90 of 161. We are well over the halfway mark now. Paul Radicic in command. We'll give you a rundown through the top 10. Lowndes is back in third. Scaife is fourth. Noski maintaining that fifth position from Glenn Seaton, who slipped back a little. Russell Ingall is seventh. Dick Johnson is eighth. Cameron McLean is back in 10th. Jeff Brabham is in 9th position.
We thank John Cleland. He had to fly out of the commentary box in a big hurry. He realises his driving stint in the Greenfield Mowers car is coming up very quickly, so we thank John for his time. And terrific to see the 2 times British Touring Car Champion joining us in Australia for the great FAI 1000.
Mark, another good effort today too, although we're looking at the front-running cars, is Greg Ritter, Steve Owen, the 2 Formula Ford boys. For Steve Owen, this is his debut drive in a V8, and for Greg Ritter, it's his first time Both of the boys in a V8 at Mount Panorama. They're running in the top 15 and have performed their brake pad change. Great effort. They've been just going out there and flying the flag for the Valvoline Cummins Gary Rogers machine.
Yeah, I really felt sorry for Steve Owen early in the week. I think it was on Thursday, the first or second session. Had a bit of a coming together with the Wayne Gardner Commodore at the top of the mountain. Had a spin, did some damage to the car, and he was certainly hanging his head low, but that's early times in the week, as Jason Bright has proven. You've still got time to get your act together and get back into a competitive situation. They're certainly doing that now, just outside the top 10.
Some good team running, as we mentioned earlier. If you look inside that top 10, we've got 2 Shell Helix Fords, you've got 2 Mobil 1 HRT Commodores, and you've got the 2 Ford Tickford Racing AUs. So some good, strong